this is Sherry Hayes from MomDelights.com. I'm the mom of 15, and if you're a mom and you're going through this coronavirus crisis right now, you need some encouragement, and I want to give that to you. Stay tuned. So, I have a treat for you today. I wrote this book, Glorious Mothering, for moms of large families, but moms everywhere. And I believe that it's a message from God that could really bless you. So I have a chapter that is really, really appropriate for right now, and it's called Weathering a Storm. It's chapter 6. And I thought I would take the time today to read it aloud to you. And I hope it blesses you. You can listen to it just like a podcast. Put your earbuds in, cast it to a speaker someplace where you're washing dishes, and enjoy. Okay, chapter 6, Weathering a Storm. Battles for the victory of right and good aren't always fought with swords and bullets. God-fearing women have been carrying on, quote unquote, since the beginning of time. Sarah did, and Hannah, and Abigail. Queen Esther, in order to save her people from genocide, pushed her fear to the side and stood boldly before the most powerful figure of her age. Illness, death, financial difficulties, natural disasters, wartime, and the infidelity of friends and loved ones can shake us to our foundations. There are times when we must gird ourselves up with God's strength and keep a lid on being expressive. Our emotions must be stifled, perhaps saved for another day, or at least the wee hours of the morning when only God can hear. When you are the spirit of the home, notice I didn't say boss, your light mustn't go out. It can't even flicker. You have to carry on, and you must show by your countenance all is well, even if you are quaking inside. When there's a storm raging, moms must be tough. Obscure wives, mothers, and grandmothers have often stood stalwart and true, patching clothes, tending the farm, and wiping away tears while offering a cheerful smile. We have been contending for our homes by keeping the fires burning in the hearth and the coffee hot on the stove. When our men have had to go off to war, they could rest secure knowing we would continue to fortify the underpinnings of the family. Like you, I haven't been a stranger to trial. I've known poverty and treachery, illness and disaster. Over the years, God has imparted to me His strength and enabled me to go over and through the obstacles of life. By these, I have learned a few more principles which go along with the ones I shared in the last chapter. Underneath are the everlasting arms. When I was a child, they used to run a commercial for Nestea that showed people in oppressive heat taking the plunge by falling backwards into a pool of sparkling water. That's what I do when I meet with overwhelming circumstances. I fall completely into the arms of God. I've learned that it's perfectly all right with Him if I have wobbly knees, because it's not by my strength or resolve that situations change or people are mended. I'm His little girl, and His arms lovingly embrace me when I feel helpless and overwhelmed. I can lean all the way back into Him because He has proven His trustworthiness to me over and over again. Stay in the Word of God. I read the Bible every day. I take it with me in my purse. I open it when I'm happy and when I'm sad. I live every day from its pages, and I escape each night into its promises. Whenever I'm so distressed that I can't even connect two thoughts in my head, I know that I can dive into the refuge of His Word, and God's Spirit will begin to make sense of things for me. Keep a routine. Simple but true. People, especially young ones, need to know that everything will be all right. If the table is set regularly for breakfast, even if it's only a piece of toast or a small bowl of cereal, things look better. When our hearts ache, it's the rhythm of life that keeps us from cracking to pieces and giving in to despair. Share carefully. There is so much professional counseling going on these days, and yet the heroines of the past were often quite solitary as they obeyed God in hard times. There's something to be said about quiet nobility and strength of character. Some people will reach out to you who are filled with pathos. Others might hug you one minute and stab you in the back the next. It's good to have a confidant, but Jesus is the friend that sticks closer than a brother. Pay attention to hope. Fill your home with messages of light. Make sure every scrap of reading material, every line of music, every minute of video viewing is full of God's hopefulness. I'm not advocating reading or viewing vapid drivel, minus any trials, but stories of those who have faced difficulties and overcome them. Christian biographies are hopeful and encouraging. Our all-time favorite is The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom, but there are many, many others. We also enjoy good movies, especially ones from the past, such as I Remember Mama and Sergeant York. Recently, we have been working through a number of newer Christian films. One of our favorites is Miracles from Heaven, and another is The Case for Christ. I think we are going to purchase the movie, The Book of Daniel, and keep it as a permanent part of our library. Avoid destructive escapes. No matter how bad things get, don't fall for the lie that cheap pleasures will bring relief. The obvious ones are alcohol, drugs, sexual immorality, gambling, and gossip. Yes, even the magazines at the checkout in the supermarket can seem appealing when you are fighting despair. But don't even look at those poor people. Pray for them, but don't engage in slander. Besides this, anything that's normally legitimate can become destructive when we give in to excess. Video games, reading, eating, talking on the phone and visiting, surfing the internet, and even exercising can become traps if we're not careful to use self-control. Don't take it out on others or yourself. The negative consequences from letting it all out are not worth it. Little hearts especially are vulnerable, and it may take a long time before you can earn back the peace of your home and trust of your family. Don't compound a problem by lashing out at the innocence in your life. Crises give us practice in self-control. Instead of becoming a whining, grumbling, nasty individual, reach down deep and come up with something positive. Smile, and your own cold, wintry attitude will warm up into the springtime of sweetness. Cultivate beauty and enjoyment. Even in the midst of great difficulties, we need to feed our souls. I'm always amazed at how sufferers in the concentration camps of World War II found ways to enjoy themselves, even to encourage a bit of culture. Corrie ten Boom tells of how her sister Betsy brightened a dark prison cell by using a red cellophane wrapper to cover the naked bulb in the room. Americans in POW camps found ways to bring comedy and comfort to each other. One gentleman in Stalag 17 during World War II was given the title of chef. Soldiers who were having trouble fighting hunger pangs would come up to him and he would set the table by describing a sumptuous dinner complete with dessert. Prisoners who came to him for dinner, quote unquote, often went away feeling full and satisfied. Those who endured the Great Depression also knew how to create a happy atmosphere. In my grandmother's family, there wasn't money for a radio, and my great-grandfather would not allow any debt. So my great-grandmother would sit, turn up the coal oil lamp, and read story after story to her children at night from books they had found abandoned in barrels by the side of the road. Sometimes they would take turns memorizing poems from these tomes and reciting them for each other. These were among my grandmother's fondest memories, and all because they were too poor to own the eye-gadget of her day. Even in this technological age, it is still fun to have a family sing-along, dance around to some rousing music, play Mad Libs, play board games, or enjoy reading aloud, a favorite in our family. We are such a goofy crew at our house that it doesn't take much to get us going. And before long, we are all grabbing our sides in the blessed pain of too much laughter. And don't forget handicrafts. Did you know they offer knitting classes in hospitals where mothers spend hour after hour worrying over children with debilitating or terminal illnesses? Stitchery calms us because it gives us something productive to do with our hands as well as our minds. I have often found this to be true for myself. During a time when my husband was unemployed, I found great comfort in crocheting about 15 doilies and hand sewing just as many dolls out of old socks, bits of cloth. Actively praise and thank God. Every day we're met with the realities of our physical world. We awaken to bills unpaid, or bodily pain, or the loneliness of a broken heart. All of these things conspire to bring us down, to keep us from believing that God can and will be our comforter and deliverer. The devil likes to puff himself up in our minds. to make us believe that darkness is strong enough to eclipse the power of God in our lives. And the best way to combat his lies is to magnify the Lord, to remind ourselves of his great power, of his love, of his kindness towards mankind, and even of his righteous justice. I encourage you to read all of 2 Chronicles 20. The story will really bless you. Read the Psalms aloud. Listen to them on CD or sing them out for yourself. Play praise music throughout the day. Find a hymnal and sing as many of the songs out loud as you can. Fill your home with the praises of God and practice thanking him, even if you stub your toe. Stand on top of it all. One of the most important things we need to remember is that this world is not our home. God can pull us up so we can stand on the peak of a problem and look down on it, instead of seeing it as a looming mountain blocking our path. Christ has risen indeed, and when we rest with him, seated at the right hand of God, we can look down on our fears and torments and see them for the impostors they truly are. Here are some scriptures for meditation when you are going through a storm. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. My soul fainteth for thy salvation, but I hope in thy word. Psalm 119:81. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. Proverbs 31:25. Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed, and gave thanks before his God, as he did aforetime. Daniel 6:10. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. Psalm 91:4. Well, I hope that blessed you. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye-bye.